What's up, guys? Josh here, just checking in. Today we're representing the Linux Cast merch here, which I actually kind of like this shirt, to be honest with you guys. But we're going to be recording HomeLab series episode 2. That's what this is. Today we're just going to be installing the server operating system, doing some basic configurations with it, just to get it set up. We're going to install a few packages, make sure that we can actually spin up a file share. And then I'll show you how to configure the file share next, in the next video. For now, we're just going to be doing a basic installation and some rather basic stuff here. So if you know how to install a Linux distro, this video might be skippable. But, I would prefer it if you sit here and watch it anyway, because, I need the views. And hopefully you watch the whole video, and hopefully we do a good job with it. But anyways, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be installing an operating system on our server to act as our HomeLab operating system. And I had to make a couple choices here, and I have ultimately decided that we're going to be using Fedora Linux for our server's operating system. Just some basic hardware specs. My server uses an AMD CPU, but it also features an Intel Arc graphics card, and I'll be delving into that in a future video as well, for like some hardware considerations. So hit the subscribe button, because when you hit the subscribe button, you're actively telling me, not necessarily the YouTube algorithm, that you want to see more of my content. And if you like the video, hit the like button, because that's what we need for the algorithm, is the like button and you to actually watch a whole video. That's how it actually works. The subscribe button doesn't do anything for the algorithm, but the view does. So that's what I would prefer. So anyways, we've got a capture card here running our server, and I can toggle my face here and hide it at the same time, but you guys don't want to see my ugly face anyway. Plus, if I make a bunch of mistakes, this makes the editor's job a little bit easier. This is the Fedora installer. This is not the normal Fedora installer, by the way. This is actually the Fedora Everything installer, which the Fedora Everything installer gives us a lot of different options for it as well. So let me go ahead and set my language here for English US. And if you've ever installed Fedora before using the Anaconda installer, you'll know that there's a lot less options in this just right away. But what we're going to do first is just configure our disks. And I'm only going to configure just this disk right now. And what this disk is, this is an NVMe disk. And you'll see where it'll index all the other drives on my server. But I'm just going to be working with the NVMe. I'm going to tick this option here to free up disk space. Basically what this is going to do, this is just going to reset the partition table. I am not going to set disk encryption for the root file system on my server. So we'll hit done, and then delete all to reset the file system table and reclaim space, and it'll automatically partition the drive appropriately for us. Now for network and file and host name, we've only got one device connected right now. We'll check our IP address, 192.168.0.10/24. DNS is routing through 192.168.0.4 with a fallback of 9999. 9999, by the way, is a quad 9 DNS server, if you guys don't know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a host name here, because you can see we're on the bottom right. It says right now current host name is Fedora. So for my host name, I'm just going to call this lab. And I have a very unique host name scheme, because what I do is I call the device name .home, because it's at my home, and then I call my domain name. And that helps me keep everything organized. This server might not keep its name lab throughout the series, but for now it's just going to be called lab. So we'll hit apply and go up here, hit done. And then we're going to go to software selection. And this is why I use the Everything installer mostly, because I can go through here. I can take all these different options. But we're doing a server right now. So I'm just going to hit server. And you'll see that where there's some extra options here, but I'm not going to take any of those. I'm just going to hit done. Go to root account. I would like to enable root. There we go. I will not allow root SSH login. And of course, this is a simple password, so it's going to tell me that I need to hit done again, just because password security. User creation, and I'm going to give myself a name. We'll go with the full name just to be fancy. Username, we're going to go with Joshua. I am going to keep this user account in the wheel group, and of course I will require a password. Add my super secure password. And of course, it's going to fail the dictionary check because my password is super secure. So hit done and done. And we're going to check our time zone here before we go too much farther. Make sure that's set to the New York time zone, which is the Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to install from the closest mirror. Now, word of caution about this one, because this is a network installer. So networking is kind of important. And I'm just going to hit begin install. And it's going to sit there and it's going to create a couple partitions. And this is going to take a little bit because, you know, it's a network installer. So I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. It looks like that the install just finished, so I'm just going to go down here to reboot the system. Of course, this thing is going to take a minute or two. Yep, there it is complaining. There we go, and now it should be coming back up now. There we go. I got the wonderful BIOS post beep. Of course, it's wanting to boot the install media, so. Okay, Control-Alt-T to reboot it. Okay, so server's rebooting right now. There we go, it's starting to post. So I've got two SATA controllers attached via PCI Express. That was just a small one that you saw first, and now it's already posted on the big one. There we go. Got our wonderful grub prompt, so I'm going to make sure just randomly hit enter. That way we can boot just a little bit quicker. There we go. Okay, and so now we're on the TTY itself. So what we're going to do is we're just going to log into my user account. Interesting. Did it not take my password? We'll go with the full name just to be fancy. Username, we're going to go with Joshua. Oh. It didn't create a user account. Okay, not that that's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a useradd -m and then capital G. We're going to add a wheel group and a user. And then we're going to pass a shell, bin bash, and then Joshua. And pass wd Joshua. Yeah, it's going to tell me that my password's not particularly difficult, but hey, that's fine. So if I do Control D to exit, and then I should be able to log in now. There we go. Yeah, I know there were 2 failed login attempts. So what we're going to do right now is just make sure that our system should be up to date. Which it should be because it was network install anyway. Of course, it's not erroring on us either, so that means that we do have an active network connection. Okay, we're good. And then I'm going to pull out the magic of the IP command, and I'm just going to say adder. Okay, and that's going to give us some information for an IP address, which I can see is 192.168.0.10. So we're done here. So I'm just going to hit Control D. That way, you know, I'm just not sitting logged into a user account on on the console itself. And now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to my screen, which I have already got a wonderful terminal open. Don't ask me why my bash prompt is doing that right now, because, you know, I'm on Silverblue and I need to redo the pathing for it, but hey, whatever. So what we're going to do first is just type on the correct keyboard. We're going to pull out the magic of the ping command. That way we can make sure that my current machine can talk with my server, and I am getting a response, so Control C out of that. And then I can SSH Joshua at 192.168.0.10. And of course, it's going to give me an error because, you know, I was talking with the server earlier. So what we're going to do is we're just going to rm.ssh known host. Easy solution. So sshn, and we're going to say yes, that is the correct one. Type in my user's password, and now we're on the server itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to install just a couple basic utilities. So we're going to do sudo dnf install, and I'm going to install Vim as a text editor because, you know, when I'm working in a console, I much prefer using Vim to Nano, which Fedora uses Nano by default. I like htop as a utility, iftop and iotop, and I'm also going to install Snapper too to set up some basic snapshots. Type in my password, and it's going to show us an index of it. So if you've never used DNF, the package manager, before, it's going to list out all the packages. It's going to list out the architecture that's for, as well as the version numbers. It's also going to tell you where it's pulling it from. So this is coming from the Fedora repository or the updates repository. It's a nice, wonderful breakdown. And this is actually why when it comes to package managers, I think that DNF is probably the best one for presentation. So hit yes, and that's going to install all the packages. And it's going to say, hey, is this the right one? Yes. There we go. Oh, I forgot to install tmux too. So we'll install tmux. Yeah, grab that too. There we go. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to set up our drives. So lsblk. You can see that we've got a bunch of different drives that are of varying different sizes. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up our primary data storage first. So our big drives. So all these 5.5 terabyte drives. That's SDE, F, G, H, I, and J. So we're going to switch over to our root account. So I'm just going to do su, type in my root password, and we're going to pull in tmux, and this is just going to output lsblk for us. And then Control B, do this. Well, actually probably need to shrink the text size just a little bit. That way I can actually read it. So Control B, %. And what I'm going to do is just sudo mkfs.btrfs -force big L for, because we're going to call this data, -m for our metadata. We're going to do RAID 1C3. So what that's going to do is that's going to set up our file system metadata as a RAID 1 array with 3 different copies of it. -d RAID 10. And then we're going to pass our devices. So that's going to be /dev/SDE /dev/SDF /dev/SDG slash dev slash sdh slash dev slash sdi slash dev slash sdj. Basically, what this command is going to do, this is going to make a file system for Btrfs. I'm going to pass -f for force, because it's going to ask me about that anyway. And I'm going to give the drives a label of data in all capital letters, because, you know, old school Unix thing has to be capital letters. I'm using a RAID 1 C3, so like I said, it's going to stretch the metadata on a RAID 1 array across with 3 copies of it. And I'll explain what metadata is versus like actual raw data in another video when, you know, I can actually wrap my own head around it. And then I'm just passing all these drives to it because the magic of Btrfs is it's going to make the same file system across all these drives. SDE is busy. Oh, probably because there's a RAID array on them. So m.m, let's pull out a quick help real quick. Actually, let's just get out of that entirely. m.m -help, that way, you know, I can make use of the scroll. Let's see, m.m. Okay. So, well, we're going to close those real quick, and then m.m misc -help stop slash dev slash md 126 and then 127. And there we go. Now it'll let us build them. Okay. So, some quick troubleshooting there. So, now if I run lsblk, and I'll patch -f so I can get everything out of it. You'll see where it says that, hey, now we have a Btrfs file system on these drives here. And then via the magic Btrfs, it's the same file system, so they're all going to have the same UUID. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run a very similar command, and we're going to change the label to VMS, because, you know, this is going to be for my virtual machines, and I'm just going to patch /dev /sda /dev /sdb /dev /sdc /dev /sdd. Okay, that's going to trim those up. And you'll see that we've got all that. Okay, so now I'm just going to list out my root directory. That way I can see what all I have access to. So we've got... Alright. Varlib. Do I have a libvirt folder yet? No. Okay. So... now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our drive mounts. So mkdir /var lib, and I'm going to create a folder called libvirt, because that's for our hypervisor usage. And then I'm going to do mkdir /serve, and we're going to open up a squiggly brace, and we're going to call backups, containers, media, games, sync, and repos. Okay, and that's going to create all of those drives right there. And now that we've got those, what we're going to do is we're going to call the mount command. We're going to call label. And let's just go ahead and mount data first. And I'm going to mount this onto /mnt. Okay, so now if I run lsblk, you'll see that I'm mounting the disk SDE on /mnt. But if you've watched my my last Btrfs video, you'll know that I'm mounting the whole array on /mnt right now. Because if I do -h, you'll see that /mnt is 17 terabytes, but that's only a 5.5 terabyte drive. So we're going to switch over to MNT. We're going to go ahead and create some Btrfs subvolumes. And we're just going to call this containers. Actually, let's do a ls-l/serve. There we go. And backups, games, media, repos, and sync. So, as you might notice, I have created these different subvolumes that have the exact same names as the folders too. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount all of these folders as separate volumes. So btrfs subvolume list /mnt, and it's going to show us all the subvolumes there. So cd out of the directory, and now what we're going to do is we're going to mount the subvolumes. So mount, and we're going to --o, and we're going to do subvol equals backups /serve backups. And oh, it would help if I do label equals data, of course. So I'm now going to do this for every single one of the subvolumes I just created. So serve containers, go over here, containers, okay, so now all those drives should now be mounted, which means that now I can just unmount /mnt because I don't care about that anymore. Now, we did manually mount all of these drives. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cat /proc mount, and you'll see that down here we've got an output of all of these. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pass this over to /etc fstab. And now I'm just going to vim etc fstab. Scroll down. Let's see, we need to clean this file up. So what we're going to do is just a nice little visual mode of just everything here, and just remove. And I'm just going to give it the count of mount data, well, not share, but volume. Then we're just going to do a visual block. Select all of these, D, visual block again, Shift I, label equals data. There we go. And basically what this will do is this will, now that it's in our FS tab, which is the file system table, now when our server boots up, it's going to mount these drives automatically. Since we're doing that, we're going to double check all of our mount options, make sure that they're right. So read write, yes. Secure label for SE Linux. Relative time, because we want to make sure that everything's writing good. Space cache v2, subvolume ID, subvolume backups. Alright, that's all looking correct enough. Because this is going to be the primary server that everything's going to be passing through, so I'm not going to worry about any actual compression, not yet at least. So we'll just do a Shift ZZ or WQ or right quit, and we're going to do systemctl daemon-reload, And we've already got everything mounted, so I'm not going to worry about mounting right now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up our virtual machine mount as well. So what I'm going to do now is just mount label equals bms/mnt cd into mnt, and we're going to do btrfs subvolume create, and we're going to do images. Yeah, just one subvolume. That's all I need. We're going to cd out, and then we're going to mount label equals vms/var lib libvirt. We're going to pass our subvolume equals images. Pass that over to that. cat/etc/fs. Well, not /proc mounts. Okay, and I'm just going to do a lazy copy paste here. So we're just going to do a copy vim etc fstab, go down to the bottom, and then mount vms volume. There we go. And we got to do some special things here because this is going to be a little different. So we're going to remove subvolume ID, subvolume images, asynchronous discard is fine, no data cow, and no compress. And what this is going to do is this is going to disable copy on write and also disable compression. This is actually mostly going to be done mostly for performance reasons in the virtual machines. And also, if we need to back up virtual machines, well, I'm going to show you guys how I plan on deploying my virtual machines in a very reproducible manner because I'm not going to care that much about them. There we go. Right quit. It makes me wonder if I didn't mount that right. No, we did. Okay, so to make sure that everything's right, we're going to do systemctl daemon-reload, and now what we're going to do is we're going to exit out of tmux, and we're going to pass a system-wide reboot, and we'll switch back to this, make sure that the system does boot properly. Uh-oh. Something didn't post right. What'd I mess up? Is that not a valid mount option anymore? Okay, so had to reset the capture card. I'm thinking that no compress is not an option now. So let's do a man btrfs, and then scroll down to the bottom here. Yeah, I think I want to check man-btrfs subvolume. Mount options. Let's see, and it is main page 8. Okay, so we got that. So let's right quit and exit. That should tell the system to boot. And I'll have to look that one up later. There we go. So now we're booted. So now if we switch back to our screen, ping again. There we go. And now I can SSH back in. There we go. LSBLK. And we're mounted, so sudo umount, because we don't need to be mounting MNT right now. There we go. And of course, everything is mounted and working properly here. And you might notice that on this screen here, it says that there's a web console at the top too. That's the cockpit web console, which I'll be delving into in the next video, just delving into that for getting services set up. This one's actually running just a little long. But anyways, what happened there is that when the system went to boot, I had an invalid mount option, and I'll be delving into that one a little bit later because I was passing the nocompress option, which I think used to be an option, but I guess it got deprecated for something else. I'll figure that out another time. But anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. Just go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and you know what? Just for the fun of it, leave a comment telling me everything that I did wrong in this video, because you know I probably did something wrong, or you know I probably configured something a little bit differently from what you would. So let me know on how you would set the system up yourself. But in the meantime, guys, I'm out of here.